I never considered myself to be much of a baker, especially not since my disastrous attempt at baking a chocolate cake back in secondary school when I took food and nutrition classes. They were a combination of theory classes and practical sessions. With all the effort I had put into creating the perfectly light, fluffy, chocolatey treat, imagine my utter disappointment when I ended up with a dense, inedible lump of what was supposed to be cake. My teacher back then had taken one look at the sorry excuse for a cake, shook her head pitifully, and scribbled on her clipboard. It did not take a fortune teller to know that I failed that practical class. I shuddered at the memory till today. "Excuse me, are you here for the baking class?" A middle-aged woman peered at me curiously. I quickly snapped out of reminiscing, as I realized I had nearly caused a queue to build up at the entrance to the bakery. Yes, I am." "Okay, may I see your ticket?" I showed her my QR code ticket, and she smiled. "Perfect. Go straight down the hallway. It is the first door on the right." I said a quick thank you and stepped out of the queue. The moment I walked through the doors, the scent of butter and sugar wafted through the small, cozy kitchen workspace, making me feel giddy with excitement. I glanced around the room, spotting no familiar faces, and settled behind a workbench. A group of girls giggled behind me as they talked among themselves. I am telling you, this is my 5th class in a row. I am not joking. Do you love baking that much? Duh, no. I come here for the view. I glanced out the window. There was a fairly decent view of the park, but it was mostly obstructed. I could not fathom why one would spend that much time and money on a baking class when you could go to the park for free. Hello everyone, I am Alex, and welcome to my beginner's class where we will be making shortbread cookies. It is an all-time classic and easily one of my favorites. Wash your hands, grab your kits, and let's get baking. It was then I realized the view had nothing to do with the park. Something about his warm smile, bright eyes, and cheerful tone made me feel instantly relaxed. The instructor was definitely not what I had imagined. I could not help but cast glances as he walked among the group, going from one workbench to another. How is it going? Alex's observant gaze scanned my workbench. I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. It is not going anywhere at this point. Oh, may I help? Sure, I need all the help I can get. He leaned across to grab one of the measuring cups, and I got a whiff of his scent. He smelled like fresh laundry and freshly baked cookies. It seems the ratio of butter to flour might be the issue, but we can fix that. Thanks, Alex. You are a lifesaver. So, may I know the name of the lady whose life I saved today? Who said anything about saving a lady? I meant the cookies. Nicely played. My name is Morayo. It's nice to meet you, Morayo. It's nice to meet you too, Alex. Together, we pressed the shortbread into the baking pan. It was almost ready to go into the oven. Do you live locally, Morayo? No, I am about half an hour away. Although I visit the area occasionally, it is my first time attending this class. I am certain I would remember if you were in my class before. For a moment we locked gazes, and if I was not mistaken, there was a mischievous glint in his eyes. Was he flirting? Ahem. Alex, we need some help over here, please. Sure, I will be with you in a minute. He smiled apologetically at me before he went to the workbench of the girls behind me. Later, as I placed the baking pan in the oven, I felt a sense of accomplishment. I peeked at the oven often to watch as the aroma filled the room, and the shortbread slowly turned golden brown. Once it was ready, I munched on a cookie as I packed up the batch in a little container to take home with me. It was as crumbly and buttery as I had imagined. This is so good. I take that as a sign the cookies turned out great. You have to try this. Alex leaned in and whispered, It is my recipe. I know exactly how it tastes, but I will have one because you kindly offered. Too late. I dropped my hand to snatch the cookie away from his reach, but he caught it. His fingers grazed my wrist as he plucked the shortbread cookie out of my hand and replaced it with a business card. I would love to see you again sometime, Morayo. With a final smile, he he turned away to speak to the other attendees. A silly little smile tugged at my lips as I made my way home. It was a shared house I moved into a year ago. My 2 housemates were pretty nice, and we got along well. After I safely put the cookies away, I lay in bed and flipped Alex's business card over in my hands. He had made his move, so it was my turn. A week later, I stood outside a little cafe in Maidenhead. The cold January breeze whipped around my face and stung my eyes. I peeked at my phone to read a new message. Sorry, my class dragged on for longer than expected. I will be there as soon as possible. I rubbed my hands together and went into the cafe to escape the cold. Alex and I had agreed to meet up at noon. I found a nice corner and waited for him to arrive. Is this seat taken? I looked up and smiled. He was up to his antics again. I guess it is about to be. Sorry for keeping you waiting, I shrugged. It was only a few minutes. Shall we order? Of course. Later, I cradled a cup of hot chocolate in my hands. The heat warmed my hands, but beyond that, as I sat there across from Alex, I felt warmth build up within me. I would not realize it until much later, but it was that subtle feeling of falling for someone without even realizing it. The weeks that followed were filled with late-night phone calls and early morning texts. Life got a little more interesting. So interesting, in fact, that I forgot to pay attention to the things that mattered. Girl, who has got you smiling like that? You look silly! My housemate Sandra stared at me from across the kitchen, her arms crossed as she leaned back against the counter. Never mind, I can tell it is a guy. I rolled my eyes and moved past her to put the kettle on. What stage is this? The talking stage? I guess. We have been talking for a while now. How long is a while? Just about 4 months now. She blinked severally and nodded. Okay, and have you guys decided to take things further? I guess we are still figuring it out. Well, do you like him? Yes? I knew without a doubt. Does he like you? I think so. I mean, we talk often, and he does really nice things for me. So, he has done everything except actually tell you he likes you and ask you to be in a relationship with him. Sandra, I do not want to talk about this right now. I grabbed a mug, dropped in a tea bag, and poured boiling water over it. I watched as the clear water turned darker by the second. You did not want to talk about it 2 months ago, too. The emotions that tugged for release within me felt as dark as the contents of the mug. It was too early. So, is it too early even now? Sandra pushed off the counter and walked towards me. She placed her hand on my shoulder. Listen, I'm just looking out for you, that is all. Think about what you want. With a final pat on my shoulder, Sandra left me alone with my thoughts. I felt the urge to see Alex and talk to him. I wanted some reassurance, clarity, and something to hold on to. Are you free right now? I sent the text before I could change my mind. Sure, what's up? Alex's reply came back within minutes. I just wanted to see you. I held my breath as I waited for a response. We had made plans to hang out before, so why did I feel anxious to see him now? I guess someone misses me. Do you want to come over? Sure, see you in a bit. Half an hour later, I stood at the door to Alex's apartment. I had been there once for his birthday party last week. I cast my mind back to the day and remembered how I stood to the side as he introduced his friends to me. But then he introduced me as a friend to them as well. Hey, come on in. He held the door open and with a sweeping gesture, stepped aside for me. His bright smile wiped away the thoughts of self-doubt, and I stepped in with a renewed spring in my step. The low hum of the TV played in the background. I come bearing presents. I held out the little container in my hands. What have you got in there? Take a guess. You know I am terrible at guessing. I opened the container and held it out. Shortbread cookies! I hoped he would realize what it meant. Morayo, did you bake these? Well, not this batch, but remember this is how we met. I could nearly see the cogs spinning in his head. The baking class, we baked shortbread cookies that day? Oh right, of course I remembered that. He dragged his hand across his forehead. I had seen him do that many times when he was flustered. I hesitated. I had so many questions but was not sure where to start. The doorbell rang, and the sound cut into the moment I had been working up the courage for. "Alex, are you expecting someone?" No, but let me check who is there. I will be right back." Moments later, there was the sound of a suitcase being rolled across the floor and mumbled voices. I peeked out into the hallway and locked eyes with her. She looked stunned to see me, and I must have had a similar expression. "Babe, who is this?" She took the words right out of my mouth, except that line was not mine. Alex's body had tensed up. His eyes darted from her to me. You did not tell me you were returning today." "Do I need permission to see my boyfriend?" She chuckled dryly and folded her arms across her chest. "Hold on. Is this your way of getting back at me for moving to Amsterdam? I thought we agreed to do long distance." "Not when it feels like I am in this relationship alone, Amanda. You even missed my birthday." I apologized, and I am here now, am I not? 1 week later. "I am sorry, but wait." She held a hand up. "Answer my question. Who is she?" I held my breath so long. It felt like I had forgotten to breathe. It even seemed they had forgotten I was there. I looked at Alex. Whatever he said next would only emphasize the truth that had become glaringly obvious. "Morayo is my friend. She has been kind to me." Huh, so that was it. "Moving quick to replace me, Alex?" Her voice was icy as her gaze swept the entire length of me. "You know that is not what this is about." His voice softened. "I better go. I see now is not a good time." I grabbed my stuff and headed for the door. My feet could not move fast enough as a burning feeling of embarrassment coursed through me. "I'm sorry," Alex whispered. I did not bother with a response. If I did not leave then, I might have said something I would regret. As I walked out of Alex's apartment, I knew I had all the answers to my questions. I had allowed myself to become comfortable with ambiguity, and we never defined what the situation or our intentions. It was a little late for that now, but I was willing to put it behind me, to put Alex behind me. On my way home, I bit into one of the shortbread cookies that signified both the start and abrupt end of our story. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Tales at Dinner for more stories.